Under Plum Lake by Lionel Davidson, Chapter 18, The Pleasure Drome. The trouble started at the Pleasure Drome, where the manager didn't want to let me in. He said the pleasure was so strong it could burst my brain. He said I might be able to bear the next show, which was for small kids of 70 and 80, and he'd think about it. We waited and saw the people from the last show start coming out, and this was when I noticed their feet were touching the ground. They came floating out, and they were smiling. They had the weird kind of smiles that angels have in pictures. We didn't bother asking the manager. We just sneaked into the big hall. There were rows of seats circling a central space. There was no stage or screen. There was just a space with a green carpet. It took a few minutes for everyone to settle. Then the lights went out, and some of the kids started whispering, and some of the others told them to shut up. Nothing happened for a bit. Then I realized that in the dark I could see the green carpet, and it wasn't a carpet, but the sea. It was bigger than I thought it was. It was higher than I thought it was. It was all round me, up to my chin, and I could feel it. It was past my chin. I was under it. There was green water all round me. My heart was thumping, and I heard the kids squealing. I felt Dido hanging on my arm. "It's okay," he said in my ear. We were underwater and breathing. I put out my tongue and tasted the sea. I could hear it surging. I could hear it whistling and singing. It was uncanny singing without words. It was a low moan going all the way up to a high shriek. It was unearthly and beautiful. It was like no music I'd ever heard. Fascinating, of another world. "Whales," Joe whispered in my ear. "The whales are singing." And suddenly, in a colossal great smother of foam, 3 of them sprang up, massive whales at least 80 feet long. They flashed past me, and I saw the whole length of them, mouthed tails, and swung around in my seat and saw them fanning off in the sea all around. All the sea was lashed into luminous foam, and I heard the kids squealing and saw their arms flicking up under the water like seaweed to try and touch the whales. There was a fantastic volume of sound as the whales tore around and sang and spiraled upwards. And we went up with them, up and up, through glorious green depths, with the water suddenly sparkling and lightening until we burst right out of it and the whales blew. They blew huge spouts of water. We were cascading in the air with their spouts, and then had left them behind. They were far behind, far below. I could see them below, 3 whales, flicking their fan tails on the surface of the sea. Tiny whales now, because we were going fast. We were going at fantastic speed. We were rushing through the air, and all the kids were squealing again because all around the blue sky was whistling with our speed, and we were in the world above. My brain was spinning. The world was spinning. I could see below me our rocket dizzyingly turned so that the world lurched upward until it was level, and I could see its curve. I saw the curve of the earth. I saw tiny mountains standing up, like on a relief globe. The globe slowly span. I saw Spain and France. I saw Britain. I saw the finger of Cornwall. I saw where Ponzil must be. I saw where Polzeal must be. I saw ocean and Canada and the eastern coast of America all the way down to Florida, the whole shape of it slowly turning until the distance was too great and no detail could be seen. Just the whole globe turning, and also turning blue. The globe was blue now, a beautiful little planet, enclosed in its atmosphere, receding fast at hundreds of thousands of miles an hour. It was whistling darkness now as the planet contracted into a tiny sapphire, into a bit of diamond dust, into nothing. The kids had stopped squealing. In the rushing darkness there was a kind of awe, and the rocket slowly revolved once more. And a little bright star passed on our left, with a tiny scatter of dust above it, and Dido said in my ear, "The sun, the solar system, it was gone, all gone, everything was gone. There was nothing anywhere, there was no height. There was a roaring darkness. There was thudding, and thudding rhythmically. It was thudding like a heart. It was my heart. All of me was thudding. My feet, my hands, my hair. I was part of the thudding. I was suddenly a part of everything, of the whole universe, of space. I was smaller than my own pulse. I was a beat in everyone's pulse. I didn't exist. I hadn't been born. It was all blackness. It was fantastic blackness. I'd never known such blackness. I couldn't see any of myself. I couldn't even feel myself. I couldn't believe the blackness. In the darkest room, on the darkest night, behind closed eyes, you couldn't see such blackness. If you stared hard enough, you could always see something, a fleck. I stared as hard as I could. I stared so hard my eyes ached, but I got a fleck. I got a spark. It was like a pain. It was so red. It was red, so I knew it was blood from the veins behind my eyes, and it grew bigger, and I knew it wasn't. The spark was there. It hung in the blackness. It was brighter than a cigarette end, redder than a ruby. It was bigger than an egg, than a balloon, than the moon. It wasn't even red. In the thudding vibrations, it was changing color. It was rose and pink, apricot, peach, pearl, and steady throbbing waves that expanded everywhere. It washed over the front rows, and I heard gasps of delight and saw kids standing up and felt it coming toward me and got the first tremor myself. The sound was changing, too. The light was washing the harshness out of it. It was melting and softening into music. Then it touched me, and a single gasp came from me. I felt I was just born out of nothing. I felt I was a baby being bathed. I felt I was being picked up, and unbelievably I was. The kids in front weren't standing. The light had lifted them. We were all floating in it. Now, there were all colors, blue, silver, amber, emerald, and they were rippling through me. The colors and the sounds were going through me. I seemed to be shimmering in long ripples of pleasure. They got so intense, they came so fast, I could hardly bear it. Just when I couldn't bear it and heard myself gasping again, a clear tide of sapphire blue washed through me. Everywhere the kids were gently floating. Dinah was floating beside me. They were all smiling, the weird smiles. We couldn't help it. I don't know how long it went on. There were several more of the spasms. They got stronger. The feeling of happiness was almost painful. Then it became softer and gentler, till we were lowered to our seats again. And there was a smell of flowers everywhere. I could smell them as we went bobbing out into the night. I couldn't feel the ground. It was like treading water. I was just full of pleasure. I was so full of it, I forgot to tell him again not to do anything dangerous with me. And my time had come now. It was here. And that is the end of the 18th section.